Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerreonian Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom, and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerreonian Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I am your host. I am your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and in Europe on Radio X. If you'd like to send me an email, my email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com on all social media sites. We are X-Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to know what we've done in the past, what we're doing right now, and where we intend on being in the future, because we're not psychics, we don't know, we just try our best, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Helen Rees, and Helen has been a member of the X-Zone Nation for some time now. She is way down under in Australia, where it's tomorrow, and they're getting ready for winter as we get ready for summer. As a spiritualist and a psychic medium of 25 years, her focus is on spiritual healing for the mind, body, and soul, and bridging the gap between the material and spiritual worlds. Helen's belief is that all things are possible in the universe. She believes we must surrender our ego to work with spirit so we can expand our minds. She works at being kind to people and approaches them with a lighthearted attitude. She teaches others not to give in and to move forward regardless of life's obstacles. For her, the key to success is love and showing compassion and understanding to all. Joining me now is Helen Rees. And Helen, welcome back to the X Zone.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's great to be back.
It's great having you with us. These are crazy times, and this is what I think the world needs more of, is love and understanding. How do you think that in today's society, with the inundation and the bombardment of data all the time, that we can actually achieve this?
Well, don't watch too much television. No, how I go about life is really about just keeping in balance with everything that's around you, and not to take on board everything you hear as fact, because generally it's not all fact. But it's not to say that we shouldn't pay attention to what's going on, but rather we should be listening to our own selves about where everything is heading. And if we live that life of balance, and then everything will work itself out.
Live a life of balance. How do you think, or if somebody was to come to you and they say, listen, Helen, I think my life is out of balance, what advice would you give them?
To look deep within themselves and to find that point. Now, I'm not saying it's always easy to do that, because we're human and emotions get in the way of everything. So what we have to do is allow ourselves to have that moment of emotion, but to bring it back quickly, so that you're not, and I'm talking both, the high and the lows that we have in life. Now, it's not always, as I said, it's not always easy to do that, but if we can just remember to bring ourselves back and not allow that to interfere all the time, and just to accept the situation, whatever it is, then that's the way we can go forward in a careful manner, I guess.
You and I have to take not our news break, but our first break for this hour. X Zone Nation, Helen Rees is our special guest, and Helen is in Australia. And if you'd like to contact Helen for a one-on-one consultation, her website is www.eventshelenrees.com, and that's eventshelenrees.com. Helen and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern, right here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiyeka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiyeka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Linnea Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. Welcome back, everyone. Helen Rees is our special guest for this hour. www.eventshelenrees.com. In Australia, have you been able to talk to the Aborigines about their spiritual beliefs? And if so, can you share that with us?
Well, see, I know there's, for me anyway, I'm connected to them in any case because I have a brother-in-law who is Aboriginal. So it's part of our lives, really. And so they talk about I don't know a lot about their spiritual backgrounds, but it's about the dream world that they have and what they believe. And it's interesting that my stepfather, I have to say, was taught by an Aboriginal elder to actually understand the land, and he was shown how to find his way through the countryside, through the jungle, wherever he was, how to find his way through this and how to understand what he could eat, what he could do, and he learnt a lot about things like that. So I guess our lives have been intertwined with the Aboriginal people. Coming from North Queensland, we tend to be more relaxed about things, and I don't see ourselves as being different, really. So, and it's not a subject I have a great knowledge of, but that dream world, and it's so spiritual, it is such a spiritual understanding that they have, that, you know, you just got to become part of it.
The dream world, you know, that is very spiritual for not only the Aborigines in Australia, but also for the Native Canadians and Native Americans. Do you think that Westerners and Caucasians really don't understand or appreciate the power of the dream world?
Absolutely not. And if we give ourselves up to that and just allow that spiritual world to come to us in that way, we can gain such insight of ourselves, because this is what it comes down to. We are all individuals, and as individuals we have to place ourselves in the best possible position. Now, we've come onto this world to learn lessons, and we forget that we actually made that life contract. But that's why I talk about balance, because I feel that the Aboriginal people, wherever they are in the world, tend to understand that, and they just, you know, often go on their walkabouts and trying to find themselves to understand where they're going. I guess the biggest issue for them and what's happened is the Western world interfering and bringing alcohol into it, and it's destroyed many lives in the native world. So,
but couldn't we say that about the non-native worlds? You know, alcohol has destroyed a number of lives in the Western societies. You know, drugs and a lot of other things. So why do you think Why do you think it was so so prevalent that the Aborigines, you know, kind of went on to the binge in some cases and lost their spirituality, lost their centeredness?
Well, it's because they didn't have that connection to the Western world of bringing in. I'm not saying that it is different for them because they're more prone to illnesses than the Western world. And I don't mean to put that down, because we all get illnesses, but they die younger. There's because of all of that interference in their world.
I get it, right.
So, yeah. So as they've integrated over the years, that it's becoming a bit different now. But, and I don't know how many pure blood, can I say that in a way? I don't mean that in any sort of racist way,
sure.
but that integration with the rest of the world has changed things. Not necessarily their spirituality, but certainly changed them to a degree. You know, there's only in the Northern Territory is where the most spiritual, and the Northern Australian, where that outback aspect is, where there's isolation, that's where the true spirituality continues.
Have you ever done a spiritual reading or done mediumship for an Aboriginal?
Not necessarily. I guess because, as I said, my brother-in-law is Aboriginal, so you could say I have, but it's more on in a family sense that I've done that.
Sure. We were talking about dreams a few minutes ago, and how would you mentor someone to take better note of their dreams and to pay more attention? And what should we look for in a dream?
I always say to people they should have a journal next to their bed so that they actually remember to write down their dream as it happens when they first wake up, because it fades. it's that it's paying attention to it. But sometimes dreams aren't always about the spiritual aspect. Sometimes dreams are just really about our everyday lives that have gone on, and it's a reflection of what's happened during our everyday life. But other dreams can be quite spiritual, and in that case, that's where you pay attention. But it's understanding the difference, I get, that you need to work your way through that. So sometimes you can write down if you write down everything, you're going to have an understanding of what the difference is. And then you get more of an insight in where they're going, in what's happening.
Can people actually tell their own future by better understanding their dreams?
Perhaps. I can't say. I feel that to me, dreaming is just part of understanding, such as our waking hours is understanding, and it's working our ways through both to understand ourselves that's important, and not allow the chatter of the mind to take over our lives all the time. So that's where our anger would come from, because we've got that continuous chatter that we have that creates our dramas in our lives. And if we try and push that aside through meditation and through our dreams and just understanding ourselves, that's the way we can really create the balance that we want.
You know, there are so many books out there for dream interpretation.
Absolutely.
And how can they all be right? You know, you look at one book, for example, it says a horse, gives you an explanation why you've had what the horse in your dream means. You go to another book, it's a totally different meaning. You go to another book, it's a totally different meaning from the other two meanings. So how do you rationalize the actual meaning within a dream if all these dream books, it's a shot. Yeah.
And that's because we're all individuals. We have to look at our own dreams and interpret them for ourselves, and not try to make too much of it, but to try and understand why that happened. Why did this horse come into my dream? I don't even own a horse. Have never ridden a horse. Why is it there? So, really, if you want to understand what the horse is about, you should learn about the horse, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
To gain an understanding for yourself why it appeared in your dream.
So once again, we have to say the answers to all our questions lie within us.
Absolutely.
Why do you think people depend on other people to answer the questions for them that are right in between their own skin?
Lack of confidence. They doubt themselves. They tend to want everyone to give them the magic answer. And unfortunately, there is no magic answer. And miracles will happen if we allow it, but it's not, they can't expect it to happen every day. We have to learn the lessons that we go through each day. I had a lesson.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from this commercial break with the news. It's always great talking to you, Helen. Helen is in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, where it's tomorrow, and I've asked Helen to help me in the past, by taking a look at yesterday's newspaper, which would be up here, and giving me the lottery numbers, and we'd split it, but apparently she can't do that. Helen Rees is my guest, www.eventshelenrees.com, and we'll both be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and the all-new IPBN Radio Network.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to "my family, my farm, and my books." But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Kahara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerreonian intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerreonian coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerreonian Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com. Welcome back, everyone. Helen Rees is our special guest, and her website is eventshelenrees.com. Now, before you and I went to the commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour, Helen, we were talking about listening, and you kind of chuckled, and I think you have a story to tell here.
Well, the other night, I cooked dinner. We had a chicken stir fry, and I felt like some mushrooms, and we didn't have anything fresh. And we opened a tin of mushrooms, and I chopped it up and threw it in, and straight after, and my instincts were saying, "Don't do it, don't put them in," but I decided I was going to do it anyway. And straight after we ate, I started getting an allergic reaction. Well, the allergic reaction was quite violent, and I ended up in hospital because I didn't listen to myself.
Wow.
And while I was in hospital, I was seeing all these spirits around, and they were just all flying around because I was in that space. I wasn't quite there, and Julie, my daughter, and my husband Dennis was with me, but I was saying to Julie, "Don't let them hear what I'm saying." I didn't want to sound a complete idiot, but anyway.
They have some pretty good drugs in the hospital, don't they?
Yes.
So what were your spirits saying?
They said, "Oh, we're going to take you away to have a look at something," and I did. I fell into a trance, and then they all started getting a bit worried about where I went. Helen.
So the moral of the story is, number 1, listen to your inner voice. Number 2, make sure you're not allergic to canned mushrooms before you put them in the chicken skillet and eat them.
Exactly.
But I have to ask you something here. You and I are friends, right?
Yep.
Okay. You're a psychic. How come you didn't know that was going to happen?
Yeah, right. When it comes to yourself, sometimes you need help.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but that's that little voice that we all have on the inside. And more times than enough, we do not listen to that little voice. And more times than enough, we end up in problems, saying to ourselves, "Why didn't I listen to my little voice?"
Exactly. So it was quite funny in the end, but it wasn't funny for the family.
Oh my gosh. So how long were you in the hospital for?
Oh, I was only in there for a few hours because between the spiritual healing that we were doing and everything else, we resolved it. So
do your spirits now say to you, "See, told you. See, you got to listen. You're going to listen now?
You got to listen, yeah.
You're going to listen? Huh? Or do we have to zap you back again into the hospital? Huh?
And I don't even remember where they took me. That's the problem.
Are you talking about you don't know where the spirits took you, or where the...
Yeah, I don't remember where the spirits took me, no.
So how many spirits did you have?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
It's okay, dear.
I'm sorry. Someone's rung the phone and they're talking.
It's all right, dear. Hey, listen, I'm still getting over you getting the allergic reaction to the mushrooms.
I was amazed because that's the first time I've ever been in an ambulance and gone to hospital.
Especially over your own cooking.
Especially over my own cooking.
Now, did Dennis kind of find it funny that you got sick eating what you had cooked? And did he then stop eating right away?
No, he was okay. He didn't have a problem at all. It's only me.
Was that the first time you cooked with mushrooms?
With the canned mushrooms, yes. I've cooked fresh mushrooms and never had a problem, but I believe it's the combination of foods that was part of it caused it. So allergies. And one of the interesting things that I got out of that, though, and one of the things I learned was that as you get older, you can develop allergic reactions to things that you never had a problem with in the past.
Yeah, I know people who have developed allergies against peanut butter in their olden years.
Yeah. And the doctor was telling me that it's surprising the number of older people that are coming in getting these allergic reactions to something they never had before.
Plus, we don't know what they're putting in the food as a preservative and how the preservative is going to react with the human body, because not everybody's built the same. You see, I have terrible allergies against extraterrestrials.
So do I.
Are there a lot of UFO sightings in Australia?
There used to be. I haven't heard of any recent ones. I'm not right into that stuff, really. Not that I don't believe, but it's just that what's the use of it?
You're not into extraterrestrials, but you're into magic mushrooms, huh?
Yeah, apparently.
Now, when you do, you're a medium, and you know, for you to see spirits and talk to spirits is just like me going down the street and getting a coffee. Do the spirits have a sense of humor, or are
Absolutely.
They do, eh?
Yeah, and they like to have a joke with you.
Really? What are some of the jokes that the spirits have pulled on you?
Quite a lot, but I can't remember them all. But because they like to pull me back to earth, you know, and so I've got some really down to earth spirit guides, and so to speak.
You know, I had a guest on the show last week, and he says that if anybody talks to spirits, now he's a Baptist, you know, he's hardcore Bible Belt, and he's a demonologist, and I'm putting the word demonologist in quotations here.
Yeah.
And he was saying that anyone who can communicate with a spirit or prays to a departed relative is a member of the occult. Now, personally, I don't buy that. Because, you know, I as a child, I used to say my prayers, and I used to pray, you know, to my grandmother to come and take care of Mommy because my mother really missed her mother. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with people wanting to communicate with somebody they lost who is now on the other side. I don't think that makes you a member of the occult, do you?
No. And you know, like I come from that background of religion, of the traditional religion, and what they teach and what they do are often two different things. So, you know, to close your mind to what the universe can bring is sad to me. So, and I know that religion can either help you or destroy you.
The way
and if you close your mind when you die, you create more problems for yourself when you cross over.
You see how
you have to go through that. You have to go through all that and review your life.
The way I look at it, when life is like the life of a person is like the life of a butterfly. When we are on this side of the veil, that is just like the little caterpillar. When we pass on, we enter what I call the cocoon stage of life, just like the little caterpillar enters the cocoon, and a metamorphosis takes place. And in the case of a human who has passed, they exit the cocoon as a spirit, preparing themselves for their next lifetime, their next adventure, their next mission, just as the little caterpillar who entered the cocoon will exit as a beautiful butterfly.
It's a great analogy, actually.
Well, thank you.
We are an eternal being. People always seek to be eternal, to live long. But we are an eternal being. And so when we cross over, it's achieving another lesson that we've learnt. And what we have to do is we have to review our lives when we cross over, you know, and see where we went wrong, see what happened, see what we did well. So it's a whole combination of everything. And in our efforts to reach heaven, if we want to call that, you know, and we all want to reach heaven and God, you know.
What have you learned from talking to the world on the other side, the spiritual world, about what it's like in heaven?
I think I'm just a baby when it comes to stuff like that. So, but what I've learnt for me is just to be accepting of what happens. Even though you hate it, you might hate the position you're in, whether it's finance, whether it's relationships, whether it's emotional, health, whatever it is. It's accepting that that's where you are at the moment and have to work through that. If we can do that, then we can bounce back. You know, we're negative. The negative and positive energies of the universe relates to all of us, and so we tend to live on the negative a little bit more than we should. But I feel that's a natural inclination for some reason. So we have to train ourselves to be more positive, and it's not always easy.
But life itself isn't easy. Life itself is a learning experience. And so many people give up on the lesson if they have a failure. Failure is a part of success. Failure is a learning process. You just can't stop learning because you failed or you fell off the horse or whatever analogy you want to use.
Yeah.
Why is our species so fragile when it comes to certain things like trying to be better people, trying to live in the way of spirit?
Yeah, I think life's frenetic, and governments love to tell us how to do things, where to go, what to do. They've got rules and regulations everywhere, so that stops us from thinking for ourselves, from trying things out, from being truly who we are. But having said that, we have to live in this world in the way it is. Because we collectively determine that way of the world.
But what has the government ever stopped you from wanting to do that you couldn't do?
Oh, look, it doesn't stop you,
right?
But it can inhibit you. And I'm not talking about, because there are some common sense rules in there, you know, that we should all follow so that society can be safe, in inverted commas, because it's not very safe at the moment. But no matter what we do, because of our thoughts and emotions that interfere with everything.
And of course, our thoughts can turn probability into factuality.
Absolutely.
So this is why the Boy Scouts here in Canada, their motto was a scout is, be prepared, and a scout is clean in thought, word, and deed. Because as long as you're clean in thought, word, and deed, you're on the right path.
Absolutely.
But it is so hard, like you were saying, in today's society to stay on that path because there's so much negativity being spawned no matter where you go.
That's right. And so it's easy to fall into that rather than look at how good life is, really, you know. So, and we all get annoyed with our situation at times. We're all the same. And it's interesting to reflect and take the time to reflect on what's happened in the past to show you the way forward. And it comes back to meditating every day. Yeah.
And what do you believe is the simplest way that a person can meditate? Because, you talk to a lot of people and they think of the yogi in the lotus position.
Yeah, no, they don't have to do that. They can just go for a walk. They can just go and sit down in nature, just reflect and look around and have a look at what's happening around them. Look at a little ant. See how hard they work. Look at the trees and how wonderful they are and how they create life for us by giving us oxygen and how important that is. And all those little things. And if you can't go out and and you're in a city where it's difficult, you can just look at the landscape. Some of these buildings that are built are just magnificent things that man have made. And is that a bad thing? Not always.
No.
So it's looking at the skyline and just looking beyond that. And if you don't have money, it doesn't matter because you still got the sky to look at. You've still got your surrounding. You still can look at people, the goodness in people around you. There is always kindness to be found.
It reminds me of the Beatles song, Money. And John Lennon sings, the best things in life are free, but I can leave them for the birds and bees. But what I want is money.
Yeah.
Isn't that too sad? It's time we stop to smell the roses again. I agree with you 100%. Stand by, Helen. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation, my guest this hour is Helen Rees. And if you'd like to contact Helen for a one-on-one private consultation, www.eventshelenrees.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. And we'll continue our investigation into the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here in the X Zone on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. Exonation, my guest this hour is Helen Rees, and if you'd like to get in touch with Helen for a one-on-one consultation, she is a spiritual and psychic medium. She does a lot of great things, and she also does, she talks about the spirituality, healing, mediumship, and psychic work. Her website is www.eventshelenrees.com. Helen, last time you were on the show, we were talking about the predictions for 2016. And you said 2016, however, is a year to complete unfinished business, reach conclusions, and tie up loose ends. If you take these steps now, the next few years will allow you to move forward without unresolved issues. Memories of the past will pop up for many, and reflection will help heal and accept things as they are, so they are able to move on. And then you said for the month of May. In May, there will be good energy flow. So if you want to create something new in your life, this will be a good time to start doing it. Expect the unexpected. And if things are not quite going right, there is a shift in energy for you about this time. Money will flow a lot easier. Later on in the year and around June and July, we will start seeing some of the world economy starting to pick up after the last few years of downturn. The cycle is surely turning. And it certainly is. I understand that you people way down under are actually going through an election process yourself now.
Yes, we are. It's quite a long one for us because we usually only have a few weeks of advertising and carrying on. But this time it's already started, so they've all been on the huskings, as I say. But it's interesting that there's very little really difference between our two major parties. You know, you have the Liberal and the Labor, and then you've got the Greens and then the Independents. And I'm more inclined these days to want to vote for independents as long as they can do something, you know. So, and the reason we're having this is because they called a dissolution, double dissolution, because the government couldn't get something through the Parliament. So they used that excuse to bring on the election.
What we do here in Canada, it's called a vote of non-confidence, where the House of Parliament votes whether or not they've lost confidence in the presiding party and prime minister. Mind you, we could always be fortunate and have Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. So I think
some of them are quite religious, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it's what's going on in the United States that makes me very happy that we have the governmental system that we have up here in Canada.
Oh, absolutely. Couldn't stand all that almost 2 years of elections, don't they?
Exactly. Well, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us, Helen. Thank you so much for joining us. Please give my very best to Dennis. And can I give you a word of advice?
Absolutely.
Watch out for canned mushrooms.
Absolutely. Back to the fresh veggies, all that you can get.
And listen to your spirits. You take care of yourself, my good friend. Look forward to the next time you join us back here in the X Zone. Until then, blessings to you.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Blessings to everybody as well.
Exonation, that was Helen Rees. And once again, Helen's website is www.eventshelenrees.com. I'll be back on the other side of this news break at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.